Welcome, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Thank you very much for joining us. So, we are here in our accelerator session, Retrofitting Buildings Lessons from a Global Network, hosted by the World Green Building Council. So, if you are in the right session, thank you very much for joining. We're just going to give it 1 more minute to start on time and let all the attendees join. Welcome everybody to our accelerator session at the World Circular Economy Forum. It is my pleasure to welcome here from Dublin, and I'm just going to tell you in a little bit why I'm here today. But this is our session, Retrofitting Building Lessons from a Global Network. My name is Carolina Montano Owen. I am the technical lead at the World Green Building Council, and I am here today with an amazing set of panelists and also moderating with my colleague Enzo Tessitori, the Director of Marketing and Operations from GBC Brazil. So while everybody's joining, I just want to give you just a couple of minutes of our opening remarks from our network. So the World Green Building Council is a network of over 48,000 professionals around the world, so probably representing many of you. We are an umbrella organization of around 77 green building councils that are driving the agenda on sustainability. And I'm here, as you are all aware, about highlighting the importance of circular economy, because we don't only need to decarbonize our sector, but we also need to be more aware of how many or how much materials are we extracting. And the circular economy is giving us that possibility of making the business case for more circular and sustainable buildings. I was mentioning I'm here in Dublin today because with the Irish Green Building Council, we are launching today the Building a Circular Island. So one of the first most comprehensive roadmaps for resource efficiency in the built environment. So I invite you all as well to have a look at the link that you see here today. And last but not least, I just want to mention a couple of our initiatives. So we have the WorldGBC Resources and Circularity Readiness Framework, where we are giving recommendations on these 5 pillars. So how can we promote government leadership, technical solutions, but also collaborating with the finance sector and having in mind that we need to change our cultural mindset and keep in mind how we track our buildings, so that data focus. And also the Circular Buildings Coalition is an initiative that we have here in Europe, but it's also an initiative that is always supporting new solutions and startups that are tackling one of those challenges to implement circular economic practice in the built environment. So I invite you as well to take a look at our Circular Buildings Coalition website for those opportunities. And now I will hand to Enzo. Enzo, over to you and welcome.
Thank you, Carolina. I propose we start with a quick thought experiment. Imagine you had to design a solution to climate change, but you couldn't really invent anything new. No futuristic materials, no AI, no magical carbon-sucking machines, just the things we already have. You know, the bricks, the concrete, the glass, and the buildings that are already built. But here's the twist. That's not really a hypothetical. That's actually where we are. In Brazil, buildings account for over 50% of electricity use, and globally, the built environment contributes to nearly 40% of emissions. And we talk a lot about innovation, but the real climate moonshot might not be what we build next. It actually might be what we already built and what we decide to do with it. And yet, retrofitting buildings isn't really glamorous. It's not shiny. It's not fast. Definitely, it's technical, filled with paperwork, ductwork, and systems hidden behind walls, but it's also where we could win or lose the climate race. At GBC Brazil, we've seen this firsthand. We've seen schools in underserved communities where a retrofit meant better lighting and better learning. We've also seen hospitals where energy efficiency upgrades lowered emissions and kept operating costs down. So one could say that retrofitting is not just a climate strategy, it's a human one. And today we're here to talk about not really to talk about sustainability as an abstract goal. We're here to talk about it as a design problem, as a policy gap, and a market opportunity that's hiding in plain sight, really. My name is Enzo Tessitore. I'm the Director of Marketing and Operations at the Green Building Council in Brazil, and I want to give a warm welcome to our panelists. Maria Fernanda from Chile Green Building Council. We have João from Saint-Gobain. We have Tobias from Siemens and Cynthia from Foster and Partners. And now over to you, Maria Fernanda.
Yes, thank you very much. And well, what you mentioned relates so much with the situation that we have currently in Chile. In our case, it's almost 40%, the electricity that is used by buildings here. And considering also that we are a very diverse country, we are very long, as you must know. So we have the driest desert in the world, also, the most austral community in the world. And we have Easter Island as well. So that means for us, I don't know, Carolina, you may tell me if you're going to do our presentations now, because something that I want to show you today is going to be very brief, because I know that we will be talking, further about this, but it's totally related with what Enzo was mentioning. And in the case of us as Chile, well, I totally appreciate Carolina and the World Green Building Council for having me here, because many of the times in this type, of events, you don't hear much about what is happening in Latin America. And pretty much what I'm going to show you is what we will see in many emerging economies or developing countries. And so to move ahead is, let's go to the next slide. So sorry, this information, of course, is in Spanish because it is from local sources, but since 2019, that I don't know if you know this, but we had a very huge social crisis here in Chile, which meant a lot of things, in terms of social, but mostly in terms, of how many urban areas, mostly in Santiago, which is, the capital of Chile, suffered, of deterioration. And for a long time, this central area of the city has suffered a lot of offices and hotels leaving this part of the district and, going to another districts in more high income parts of the city. So the other thing that we have is after the social crisis, and then came the pandemic. The pandemic affected us all. And the other thing is the immigration crisis that we have in Latin America. I think that you know what is going on with the situation in Haiti, the situation in Venezuela. So it happens that here in Chile, we have been receiving a lot of immigrants, from these many countries. And until 1996, it happened that we were almost like solving this lack, of housing here in Chile. And then again, we must provide housing and infrastructure for these growing communities and population that we have currently in Chile. Just for you to know, many of these people living currently in Chile are old people. Chile is one of the countries in the world which has less children born per woman. So very, very few. Last year was less than one, children per woman. Very, very small. So what we have to provide is also, housing for older people, for disabled people. So that's a major worry for us. So if you see in the graphic that is on the right of your screen, you'll see that we need to build at least 200,000 houses a year to finish by 2030, with the lack of deficit of quantity and quality of housing in Chile. Knowing also that we are a country affected by 7 of 9 criteria of climate change. So that's a major issue for us. So what we are doing is not that we are doing all that we need, to be doing. So if we can go to the next slide, Carolina, I will show you a very interesting project that I really love this project. And if you can, check it in Google, please go ahead. It's called Campus Santa Rosa, and it is located in the central part of Santiago, which means Santiago is organized in districts. We have pretty much 56 districts in Santiago. We know we're not a very big country. Santiago has an 8 or 9 million population, but it's the biggest city, in Chile. And this part of the city is called Santiago Centro, which is the central part of Santiago. And it was very affected by the social crisis on 2019. So this part that you see was very deteriorated in terms, of losing most of the offices that were there, many of the hotels that were there. So what this project is doing is like taking this building, which is not an old building, but it was very deteriorated. It belonged, to a local company called Enel. And what they did is like to have this building and to be currently developing something that is very interesting, because what is called campus, because it's going to be a mixed use project. But the most interesting things that it has is that it includes, a market. It will include like a local horticulture project, to convene the community. And it also will rehabilitate and retrofit these existing buildings, and also develop a new buildings that will made mostly of wood and low carbon materials. Please consider that Chile is the most seismic country in the world, together with Japan. So for us, like to make these major changes in the way that we are building is like, I won't say it's a risk, but it's like a huge bet in terms of innovation. So the other thing very interesting about this project is that it's going to operate as an innovation laboratory. There is a partnership, which is very important, because I know that this presentation has to do with partnership. It's a partnership among 3 different parties, which is One Territoria, the company in charge of developing this project. Also, the Center for Innovation and Investigation in Wood, which is from the university, the Catholic University, and the other is Corfo, which belongs to the Ministry of Economy. So this is going to operate like a major laboratory, not only for Chile, but also, for the rest of the region. The next project is like a private, is a private public project. You may see that it's also located in the central part of Santiago, but these are 2 different projects. One is from the government, the one that you see below, and it's like renovate, it's a beautiful building, but it was very, abandoned, and it requires a lot of retrofitting to turn into middle and low income housing for people that, are trying to get, through the state, the support to buy their houses. And the other is located in a heritage neighborhood that is called Paris Londres. Very funny, because it's very similar to the buildings that you may find in Paris and Londres. So what they are doing is to protect these heritage buildings and to also turn them, which were formerly offices, turn them, into housing, and also adding more value to the to a district that has been very deteriorated, as I mentioned, because of the social crisis in 2019. And the next example that I wanted to show you, because I know we have a very short amount of time, this is a map that is of social environmental conflicts, and is from the National Institute for Human Rights. You know that we are a mining country, so we have a lot of, passive liabilities that in Chile, we have a lot of initiatives trying to turn these passive, liabilities into environmental assets. So what we are doing, well, you can see in this map that we have identified, many of the mostly, 3 regions that have most of these, issues that causes also environmental and social problems. So what we have in the next slide is a project that I also like very much. It's also from a member of WorldGBC. This is from a company that is called Las Salinas, a real estate company. And what they did is to turn this brownfield that was, originally contaminated, I think, with oil, and with other very dangerous materials. You can see the picture above in the slide, and they turned this in. Well, they are currently, on developing this project. So what they are going to do this is already, a LEED certified community. So they are, working in the more developed plans. So why they also were working, with the communities and with renovation. So what they are working is like remediation of contaminated land, rehabilitation of the coastal edge, which is very important, in Valparaíso, Viña del Mar, for someone, who knows already Chile, and also the development and implementation of technologies to make this remediation, of the soil. So what is happening now is that this company has learned so much about this that they have like this new spin-off, or new company that is called Remedia Green Tech. So they are currently providing for the other countries in Latin America this remediation, innovative technologies, so we can turn, these passive liabilities into environmental assets. If you want to know more about these projects, please feel free to reach out to Chile Green Building Council. We can share much more information about these, are very interesting projects that we are currently working here in Chile. And as you can see, in the picture below also, this is also going to be made from wood and from concrete and from steel. So we are working with mixed materials also, in a coastal and very seismic area as well. So thank you very much, Carolina and Enzo. And well, go ahead to the other participants.
Oh, hello, Carolina. Can I jump in?
Yes, thank you, Maria Fernanda and Joel. Yes, please welcome, and we're welcoming Joel, Technical Specifications Manager from Saint-Gobain, Brazil. Over to you. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Carolina, Enzo, and the GBC for an invitation.